Hello to all you recent converts and weeps. It's Amy again from Ara Ara here to give you everything you need to know before watching Dr. Stone Season 3. In Season 1, we are introduced to Senku Ishigami, our boy genius, and Taiju Oki, who spent the last 5 years pining for Yuzuriha Ogawa. And just as Taiju is about to confess his love to Yuzuriha, a flash of green light hits the entire world and turns everyone into stone. And that basically renders Taiju to wait another 3,700 years to tell her about his feelings. And you would think that was enough time. When Taiju wakes up, he finds Yuzuriha still in stone and Senku, who had woken up 6 months earlier. Senku and Taiju team up to find a cure to this petrification and succeed after a year. After making enough survival fluid for a human, you would think they would use this potion to wake up someone with brains or survival skills. But no. They choose Yuzuriha, which I guess makes sense if you're thinking about repopulating the earth. Realizing that Yuzuriha would be naked when they revived her, Taiju carries her away. Unfortunately though, they are attacked by lions, and they use the fluid to wake up Tsukasa Shishio instead. After Tsukasa saves them from the lions and gives them better meat to eat, they work together as the perfect team of brains, brawn, and brute force. But of course, this doesn't last very long because such is life. Tsukasa recalls and tells a story about how he was beaten up by a man when he was picking up seashells for his sister. He then proceeds to smash the head of a man with the logic that adults are corrupted and all they need to do is wake up good people. Which, I mean bro, cool motive, but still murder. Unfortunately, Taiju was running errands and doesn't know any of this took place and casually mentions the miracle fluid to Tsukasa, giving Senku no choice but to tell Tsukasa about the cave. He then investigates this for his own agenda and Senku revives Yuzuriha immediately so Tsukasa doesn't see how it's done. The three of them stand up to Tsukasa, but they are easily beaten because Tsukasa is basically a natty on steroids. Since Tsukasa just wants to murder the bad people, he just tells them to stay out of his way and let him continue his murder spree. Knowing they are in no position to fight back, they try to cover their tracks and try to invent guns. Because of course the fighting is fair if it's fists against guns. Later, Taiju and Yuzuriha talk one-on-one and Taiju decides to wait on his confession until they bring back civilization, therefore continuing to cockblock himself. Fast forward, and since Taiju is a man of great decisions, once they've finally gotten all the material to make the gunpowder, he accidentally sets it to explode, alerting Tsukasa of their location. On the bright side, they did get another smoke signal from possible survivors. But anyway, Tsukasa rushes over and takes Yuzuriha hostage, threatening to kill her unless Senku gives the secret formula. Senku has no choice but to tell him, but we all know that's never really a good idea. Luckily, because of plot armor, Taiju and Yuzuriha are able to escape with Senku's body, and they are able to revive him using the remainder of the depetrification fluid on his neck. Since Tsukasa thinks that Senku is dead, they think it the best idea for Taiju and Yuzuriha to join up with Tsukasa as spies and for Senku to look for other survivors. The story goes back to Tsukasa, who is attacked by a new character, Kohaku, who has witnessed the murder of Senku and wants to bring justice to the perpetrator. Kohaku of course gets beaten by Tsukasa, but coincidentally Senku is witness to all of this and he aids and then befriends Kohaku. Later, we meet the other villagers who apparently have never been petrified, and among them is Chrome, who is the village's scientist, sorcerer, who would later also become Senku's BFF in establishing the Kingdom of Science. We learned that Chrome's passion for science is fueled for the hots that he has for village priestess and Kohaku's sister Ruri, who is suffering from a lethal illness. To gain the trust of the other villagers, Senku devises a plan to help Ruri by creating an antibiotic. Along the way, we meet new characters like Suika, a child who loves melons and works for them because this is a show about science, not laws, so child labor is totally okay. We also meet Jana Sagiri, a spy for Tsukasa, who they convinced to become a double agent because, Kola and Kasuki, the village craftsman who was frustrated with them for their horrible craftsmanship. Through these missions, a keynote to mention is the heart-to-heart that Senku and Chrome have when they try to retrieve the sulfuric acid from the spring. Because aside from it being an emotional scene, this spring becomes important later on in the story. And finally, the last piece that they need to make the antibiotic is alcohol, which fortunately for them is the winning prize for the village games, along with the chance to marry Ruri. Everyone enters to increase their chances of winning the alcohol and to prevent Magma from marrying Ruri. Magma is a character who attacked Jen earlier in the previous episodes because of his dreams of boning Ruri, and who Kohaku has also beaten up in the past. During the tournament, Senku meets Ruri, who then asks him for his last name, which is really sus because no one uses surnames in the New World. But of course, to add more drama, Ruri collapses. As for the fights, a lot more drama go down, like Mantle tying up Suika to a tree to automatically forfeit Kohaku to increase Magma's chances, Suika giving her melon head to Kinro to help him with his eyesight, but with him still losing in the end, and of course, the ultimate bout between Magma versus Chrome, which highlights the remarkable impact of using science to overcome significant disparities in physical strength. Because let's face it, Chrome versus Magma is basically Einstein versus Triple H. Anyway, the battle ends with Senku versus Crow. Senku doesn't want to marry Ruri and just wants the alcohol. Plus, bros before hoes. But just as he's about to forfeit, Chrome passes out, which makes Senku win by default, and he is forced to marry Ruri. Senku, of course, immediately divorces Ruri because he is a man of science and not a degenerate. They finally make the sulfa drug and give it to Ruri, curing her illness and gaining the respect of the villagers as the new chief. We then find out through Ruri that the name of the village is Ishigami Village, which callback is Senku's last name. She continues to then tell the story of the village's origins. Senku's father, Byakuya Ishigami, and his crewmates at the International Space Station founded the village after witnessing the world's petrification from outer space. After the entire team land on Earth and basically live life, Byakuya writes the 100 Tales, a collection of stories and advice to help their descendants, with a message for Senku that passes through generations until Ruri. However, back to reality where things can't be wholesome and happy for a long time, the group faces a new challenge when Gen reveals that Tsukasa is coming with his army to attack them. It is led by Hyoga, Tsukasa's right-hand man. Senku and his friends succeed in protecting the village through Senku's tact in making them believe they've already invented guns, and then having katanas ready by the time they attack again. However, we find out that the attack was just for Homura Momiji, Hyoga's right-hand woman, to set fire to the village. The villagers escaped through the toxic sulfuric river, but of course, even if they were able to get away, there was no stopping Hyoga from reporting to Tsukasa that Senku is alive. With the realization dawning on Senku that their time is running out, he decides to invent the true weapon they need to defeat Tsukasa: cell phones. Because why expedite making guns during a war when you can just cancel people on Twitter? The first step to making a cell phone is to make the wire, and to make a wire, they would need to make a cotton candy machine. While doing this, Homura staked them out, and in return, they offered her cotton candy in hopes that she would join their side. Chrome also later revealed his secret project with Kaseki, a water wheel, which was completely impressive because that would provide hydroelectric power and help ease a lot of their work. Fast forward and everything seems lost when the squad tries to invent vacuum tube light bulbs. But with the celebration of the new year, Suika found tungsten, which helped them overcome this obstacle. With the help of Magma, whom they eventually learned to trust while searching through caverns, they found the tungsten rocks they needed. Later, we witness a heartfelt scene where the villagers have apparently worked together to make an observatory for Senku's birthday. Everyone continues to work together, and finally they succeed in making the cell phone. After this, Ruri shares another story from the 100 Tales, which apparently has a hidden message from Byakuya, which leads Senku to Byakuya's grave. There they find a time capsule with a makeshift record of Byakuya's voice recording, in which he expressed the belief that Senku would be the first to uncover his message. The time capsule also contained a song from Lillian, who wasn't just any ordinary astronaut, but also that era's Taylor Swift. The message in the song inspires everyone, marking the end of Season 1. But before I continue with Season 2, don't forget to like and subscribe so we can continue to make more content like this. Season 2 starts with a recap, which you could have watched instead of watching this. Senku then announces that they need space food before they can fight Tsukasa. The entire village then works together to create cup ramen noodles, which, hooray, I guess. But back to more important things. Gen comes up with a brilliant plan to defeat Tsukasa. He tells Senku that he can imitate Lillian's voice, and once they get the phones to Taiju and Yuzuriha, they can gather everyone around and convince them to move to their side and make everyone believe that America is back on their feet through Lillian. Because let's face it, we would all definitely be switching sides if the other team had Taylor Swift. With the plan now set in action, Chrome, Magma, and Gen head out to become the main squad to take the cell phone. However, they need to get rid of problem number 1, Homura. Senku builds some sonic bombs and gets her attention and captures her by flashing her. Not in the way that you think. Get your mind out of the gutter. She escapes pretty easily though and chases after Chrome, Magma, and Gen. But with the use of their communication tech, they are able to create a pincer attack on Homura and actually capture her this time. The phone squad make it to Senku's grave completely fine and hide the phone. But Magma makes a loud noise that grabs the attention of Ukyo, a sonar submarine operator with insane hearing. He tracks the 3 down, but Chrome uses a spare battery to start a fire and help Gen escape. Meanwhile, Taiju and Yuzuriha find the cell phone and make the first long-distance call. However, they were spied on by Nikki Hanada, who was checking for suspicious behavior, and they allow her to use the cell phone. While Jen make it in time to the village to impersonate Lillian, Nikki happens to be a Lillian Weinberg mega fan and knows that Jen is a fake. However, after playing the record of Lillian's song and Senku promising to preserve it, Nikki agrees to help them with their plan and even teaches Jen to sound more like Lillian. Back to things on Chrome's side, Chrome surrenders to Ukyo, allowing Magma to escape, and is taken to Tsukasa. Magma tells everyone what has happened, and Senku makes a plan to build a camp near Tsukasa's base and bring all their things by making a car, which they call the Steam Gorilla. Meanwhile, Tsukasa intimidates Chrome into spilling the tea on Senku by threatening the entire village, dangling him from the falls, and basically dropping him to his death. But none of the intimidation tactics work, so they decide to lock him up. They also ask Ukyo where he found Chrome, but he lies, which shocks Chrome. Suika sneaks around to find out that Chrome is safe and sound unless the others know of his situation and his location. This is when Senku decides to upgrade the Steam Gorilla into a tank. Unfortunately, Tsukasa has figured out what Senku's next move would be, as we've seen him do at the beginning of the series, and has made traps on the way to Chrome's cell. When Chrome realizes this, he decides to do a prison break of his own to avoid casualties on their side. But to prevent this prison break from happening, Yo, a former police officer, is stationed at Chrome's cell. Chrome still does his best to try and gather supplies, but it wasn't anything that could actually help him. But one night, a mysterious figure gives him a battery while he's asleep. He makes some bleach and escapes. He's chased down by Yo, but he escapes that too by feigning pneumonia and hitting him. With Chrome back, Senku now plans to use their tank to attack Tsukasa's empire and secure the Miracle Cave. But before doing so, they need more allies. Thanks to Nikki's coaching, Jen has converted more people to their cause. Ukyo sees through their plan though, but we find out that he actually wants to cooperate with Senku and dislikes the murder spree of Tsukasa's empire. He agrees to help on the condition that not a single life will be lost. Senku deduces it was Ukyo who helped Chrome with the battery, and Ukyo reveals that he has also seen Yuzuriha piecing back together the statues in hopes of reviving them. Meanwhile, Tsukasa and Hyoga are informed that Yo has taken away his life. In reality though, Yo ran away in embarrassment, but Tsukasa does not know this. He pays respects to Yo by placing a piece of the police officer's stone in Senku's grave, revealing the phone. But that doesn't matter, because Senku, Taiju, and Yuzuriha had already teamed up to execute the final assault on the Miracle Cave, which they successfully did by capturing all the guards without casualties. But again, this is an anime, and Tsukasa and Hyoga come and it is complete chaos. They even do Ukyo dirty. However, Senku, Jen, and Chrome make a dynamite paper plane that brings both parties to a stalemate. Tsukasa and Senku agree on a truce on the condition that Senku saves Tsukasa's sister. A few days later, Homura, who has escaped with Yo's help, blow up the Miracle Cave. Alongside this happening, Hoga tries to attack Tsukasa's sister, but Tsukasa takes the hit. Senku tries to save Tsukasa, but they both get washed down the river. Hyoga continues to follow them. They fight off Hyoga, who reveals that his motivation is for the elite to survive and the mediocre to die. However, Hyoga is ultimately defeated by the two. Homura witnesses this and is about to attack, but Senku and Tsukasa are saved by all of Senku's friends. Yo returns and repents by restoring broken statues. Unfortunately, Tsukasa is still dying. They decide to cryogenically freeze him until they figure out how the miracle fluid works. In the last part of the show, Senku reveals his plan to build a ship and sail the entire world. We see that they are basically heading out to South America, which looks like the core of where the green light started, and basically ending season 2 and giving way to season 3. Alright, so thank you guys for watching, and if you enjoyed content like this, don't forget to like and subscribe, and do let us know in the comments below what you want Vivs and I to recap next. Also, if you're interested in seeing my reaction for Dr. Stone Season 1 and 2, you can join our Patreon, which we will put in the comment section below, where we put exclusive content and give you early access to our recordings. Ara Ara.